It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
Good morning, slaves. As regular fucking viewers of my show will know, I usually like to end each edition with an interview. And over the past decade, I've had the honor of chatting with dozens of radical peeps from across the world. But since this is my last fucking show, I figured that I'd flip this shit around and take questions from you fuckers. So in order to do so, last week I put a call out for all your most ass-burning questions that you always wanted to ask yours fucking truly. We ended up getting a shit ton of great responses, and my team of submedia slaves had a hard time narrowing them down. Anyway, let's get this fucking show on the road. Agitator, will you do the honors?
Do I fucking have a choice?
Just fucking do it.
Hey Stim, how the fuck are you?
Oh, fuck off already.
No, you really need to get more friends. Okay, first question comes from YouTube commenter, the unapologetic leftist, who asks, what do you think pissy liberals are against Antifa and against smashing the homes of Nazis?
Well, that's easy, unapologetic. It's because liberals are fucking cowards who don't want to rock the boat. Kinda like those so-called good Germans who didn't do anything to stop the rise of Hitler and his goose-stepping Gestapo homies. Liberals don't see Nazis as a direct threat to their own well-being, so they're unwilling to question deeply ingrained myths such as dogmatic nonviolence, that they have been spoon-fed their entire lives by the state and capitalist media to keep them docile and subservient. At the end of the day, liberals don't really believe very strongly in anything, which is why they find people with strong beliefs so fucking irrational, especially if they're willing to act on them. Their own values change constantly, depending on the prevailing winds of popular opinion, and whatever positions they hold on a particular issue are generally aimed at maintaining a smug feeling of moral superiority. That's why I always hate on so-called progressives. It's a completely fucking relative term. It's basically like saying, I'm better than you, and using that to describe your own political orientation.
Next question comes from YouTube user Max Turner, who asks, why do you think the alt-right has such a huge online presence?
So, I think the spread of the alt-right is based on a bunch of factors that are specific to our own particular time and context. First of all, here in Turtle Island, the past few years has seen a big spike in resistance coming from traditionally marginalized groups, from black and brown and indigenous peeps to women, trans, and non-gender conforming folks. And history has shown us that any time marginalized groups have begun to collectively challenge the oppressive status quo, those in the dominant group see this as a threat to their own privileged social position and organize to reinforce a system of oppression that they've been used to benefiting from. In this case, it's no surprise that the alt-right has brought together a toxic fucking mix of white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and MRA-type misogynists, not to mention the fact that it seems almost completely composed of white dudes. I also think that identity politics have really morphed into a crude type of liberalism for a large part of the left, and this is something that's been really helped along by the whole echo chamber effect created by Fedbook. More and more peeps are starting to see any form of debate or disagreement with their own views and opinions to be an attack or violation of their safe space, or whatever. That type of orientation leaves itself pretty open to mockery from people who don't share those views, and the alt-right has seized this opportunity with both fucking hands. Last but not least, I think it's pretty fucking telling that this movement has taken shape over the internet, and not in the streets. Lots of peeps talk mad shit on the internet that they would never say to a person's face. Just look at the fucking comments on my YouTube videos. So the fact that they're safe behind their keyboards lets these fuckers be as extreme as they wanna be without having to deal with any consequences that they would face if they were actually meeting and organizing in real life. It's important that we never allow them to win control of the streets, or else we're in for some dark fucking times.
Stim, don't you basically just talk mad shit on the internet? I mean, you don't even have a fucking body.
Next question.
Next question comes from Twitter handle Soleil from Astoria. Wants to know what you thought about the last commenter.
What the fuck?
Yeah, their question is, what do you think about Max Stirner, egoism and individualist anarchism?
For fuck's sakes, agitator. Max Stirner was... Fuck it, never mind. To answer your question, Soleil, I see individualist anarchism as being sort of like masturbation, which is to say that it's a fun way to learn about what turns your crank, and a great hobby to pass the time while you're gangsta chilling by yourself, but not quite the same as the real thing, if you catch my drift. Putting the whole wanking analogy aside, I think Stirner and other individualists have made some important contributions to anarchist theory, and I agree that individual autonomy is a vital safeguard against the tyranny of the collective. But at the same time, focusing solely on individual autonomy at the expense of collective struggle seems to me to be a huge fucking cop-out. I know that's not what all egoists are all about, but it seems to be a bit of a slippery slope. I just think there needs to be a healthy balance between realizing your own desires and channeling your effort and sacrifice into something bigger than yourself. Plus, I've known a couple of individualist anarchists who were complete fucking douche nozzles. So there's that.
Next question is from Twitter user Alec Bergman, who asks, do you think anarchists can be in solidarity with Israel?
I don't think anarchists can be in solidarity with any state, let alone a settler colonial state like Israel. Same goes with Canada or the United States for that matter. That said, I've got Israeli comrades and I do think that peeps can and should be in solidarity with Israelis, particularly those who are repressed by their own government for demonstrating solidarity with Palestinians. I do also think that while criticizing Zionism isn't necessarily anti-Semitic if it's done through an anti-colonial lens, that lots of leftists in this part of the world are pretty fucking comfortable criticizing the Israeli occupation of Palestine and will benefit from spending a little more time looking in the mirror with regards to their own relationship with indigenous peeps here in Turtle Island.
Next question comes from YouTube user The Vegan Anarchist, who asks, what do you think about animal liberation and veganarchism? Are you going vegan? Can you give my anarchist channel, The Vegan Anarchist, a shout out?
Lots of peeps have asked me about this over the years. So to answer your question, I'm not a vegan and I don't plan on going vegan anytime soon. I guess maybe I haven't found the right vegan taco recipe yet. I do have lots of comrades who are vegan and I respect their reasons for doing so. Factory farming is fucking horrific. And I have serious respect for militant animal liberation activists who put shit on the line to jailbreak furry critters out of fur farms and fuck up vivisection labs and shit like that. But at the end of the day, if I'm being honest, I don't think it's realistic that a critical mass of peeps are going to go vegan. And that's going to bring down the meat and dairy industries. It's kind of like those peeps who pin their hopes on bringing down capitalism by having everyone putting their money into credit unions. Not gonna happen. I also think it's important to respect the fact that hunting and fishing practices make up a vital part of many indigenous peeps' traditional way of life, and it's fucked up to lecture them about that shit. Because it's really industrial capitalism, colonialism that's fucked up human beings' relationships to Mother Nature and the animal kingdoms. So I guess my answer is that veganism is a respectable choice, but it's not everyone's choice. And as an anarchist, I'm against forcing people into particular lifestyle choices. Also, shout out to your YouTube channel. Whoop whoop!
Next question comes from Jane Smith on Fedbook, who asks, what do you think of Anonymous? And also Ash Fox on YouTube, who asks, how much do you love Anon Resistance?
I think Anonymous, and particularly Anon Resistance, are fucking crucial steps towards building a multifaceted resistance movement that can adapt and take advantage of the changing realities of the cyber era. I don't agree with or condone every action claimed by Anonymous, but that's to be expected from a loosely structured, decentralized, and anonymous group like that. I hope that anarchists and other freedom-loving peeps with the necessary hacking skills can keep pushing back at the sexist 4chan Gamergate types who seem to make up the more reactionary elements within the group. We're at a point in history where, more than ever, information is power, and so the fact that there's an anarchist or at least anarchist-sympathetic hacker group is so fucking crucial. The next few years, I think we're going to see cyber warfare become an even more important battlefront between states, and it's paramount that the motherfucking resistance has the ability to wage our own cyber class warfare.
Next, YouTube user Jujabong asks, have you heard of anarcho-primitivism? If so, what do you think about it? Also, a whole bunch of peeps mentioned your politics seems to have changed over the years and want to know what you think about Derek Jensen and Deep Green Resistance since you did that movie and Civ.
Yeah, I fucking get it. Well, Jujubong, to answer your question first, yes, I am familiar with anarcho-primitivism. Lots of peeps over the years have referred to me as an anarcho-primitivist. Even though I've never used the label to describe myself, there's generally not much space given for nuance on the green anarchist side of things. I think primitivism was useful for some of the critiques it made of industrial civilization, but I think the solutions it offers to those problems are utopian. To put it mildly, people are not going to stop using technology and return to some sort of ancestral nomadic way of life from back before the dawn of agriculture. I think that a lot of former primitivists have acknowledged as much, and many have moved on to nihilism, which says a lot about where they're coming from to begin with. As for the shit about Civ, all I can say is that when I made the movie, Deep Green Resistance as a movement didn't exist. I don't agree with any of the shit that Derek Jensen or other members of DGR wrote or said about trans folks. A person's gender identity and expression is their own choice to make, and it's fucked up to exclude trans people from gender-specific spaces. I do still agree with a lot of what was included in the film, but in hindsight, it was a mistake to focus it so heavily on the ideas of a single personality. As for the changes in my politics, part of that has been me changing my mind on a couple of things, but another big factor was the fact that a couple of years ago, subMedia was infiltrated by an anarcho-commie named HeatScore, who's been helping me produce the show.
What you saying about me, you primmy fuck?
So yeah, to sum up, subMedia is a collective made up of green and red anarchists, who put that sectarian shit aside to focus on our shared love of watching cops get lit on fire.
Seriously, dude, Why are you fucking quitting?
Well, agitator, after some serious self-reflection, me and my submedia slave have decided to try something new. While this fucking show has provided us with a venue to vent our frustrations, sling insults at politicians, edit Ryan porn to dope-ass hip-hop, and interview some badass revolutionaries, we felt we could put our efforts into exciting popular education videos that are not so tied to the news cycle and therefore have a longer shelf life. Films that are useful to peeps who want to organize social events and pull homies away from the isolation of their computer screens and into social spaces, where they could meet others, converse, and conspire together. So while it breaks my fucking heart to end this fucking show, I'm pretty sure you're gonna love what we have in store for y'all in 2017. But never fear, this floating eyes and mouth construct y'all know as a stimulator is not going away. I'll pop in from time to time to big up the motherfucking resistance with expletive-laden videos and a brand new radical music podcast entitled Burning Cop Car. So watch out for that.